The expectations of self. Hey guys, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So I want to jump on this morning for its channeling and the writing. And the topic actually came in today about expectations. And we do have a lot of expectations, on a lot of things in life. And our expectations is that which we think is outside of ourselves. That's creating it, which is creating the suffering and the resistance to it that we're trying to create when the things that we're wanting or looking up to, for instance. And so the feelings of inadequacy is what comes in around that. It's an emotion that brings up the worthiness, right, of what we're expecting of others or outside of ourselves that we have yet to create or manifest in our lives. And then also it's an attribute to, being what's outside of ourselves. So it also falls in line. It's kind of combined with the channeling that I did. It brings it all together. It's about our projection, our expectations outside of ourselves. And part of that is, looking up to maybe others and who they are, what they're doing, and expecting that for ourselves, right? And that is our worthiness, right? And so the worthiness can be in resistance to itself if you're portraying that outside in the world, right, versus where you are, because we're all at different places, in our evolution. And to understand that and bring that into perspective, what we perceive and where we are is manifesting, right? And although it isn't manifesting, right, we may not see it that way. We may see it as a different way, which causes a resistance to ourselves creating it and kind of delays the process of that. And then hence the struggle that we don't have it. So it kind of plays off each other. And when I did the channeling, it kind of went into a lot of things. And I also had like a little bit of a healing and in-depth intuitive seeing on my part. Because not only do I have the channelings, I'm on the journey, so I have my own healing, my own awareness coming in. I'm being taught as I'm going on this journey, not just with sharing the information, but for myself, on the certain levels. And that's the awareness and how it plays out when you get to evolve into this part of your life, because we're all going to go through it at certain times, and some may be there and some may not, and that's why it may not resonate with you, which is okay. When it does, and you're at that point in life, like the other day, like I had stuff going on with my throat chakra and it was being cleared out, so I did a video and my voice was a bit raspy. It still is a little bit today because I'm with this comes spontaneous healing for me, so I'm constantly going through stuff. And today what came in, was to talk about the topic of expectations, right? So the expectations of being worthy of what we are wanting to create in this life and where we are on the timeline, right? And it goes into deeper, and it ended up being a very, very long channeling. So I'm not going to read it on here. So I might do that as like a podcast, or I did start a blog. So if you're interested in reading it, I'm going to start putting everything, all the long writings on a blog. And I'll post that below, so you can always, it's not Patreon or something like that. I just came across it, so I'm going to put the link down below, and if you are interested, sign up to it. It doesn't cost that much. It's like $10 I put for like a month, and then you have all access to all the readings that I post on there that I'm channeling, so you can read it for yourself, if that's something that you like to do, if you like reading blogs or something like that. But it kind of gives that all information to you, which I'm touching on in the videos. So they kind of go hand in hand, but also it's going to be in the book, when I publish the book, if I ever get it done at that point. That seems to be the longest process, but the videos, the blog, the book, it all kind of goes hand in hand. And then I do have, one-to-one sessions, coaching. I'm thinking about putting a group together. I've mentioned that at some point. So that's coming at some point. I do see that in the future. And then maybe traveling, doing things like that. So feelings of inadequacy, right? Expectations. What are we feeling? What are we seeing? What are we hearing? what are we wanting to create from the place that we're creating it from, and why are we creating it, and our worthiness to it. So it all kind of combines and goes into that, which is where we are in the moment, right? And so for me, it actually started out with some spontaneous healing this morning, and trying to figure out what I'm creating, because I have a lot going on and there's so much things that I want to do. And so it's like, I know I can't be here and do this and do this and do this at the same time. Not this form body. Maybe my conscious awareness is working on those, but physically, mentally, I can't be in all places at one time, right? So I only have one Laura. But many other aspects of myself are going on at the same time. So like I'm creating this, but yet I want to have a store, but then I want to, travel the world, and I want to do all these things. And like this morning, coming into the realization center, like I can't do all these things at once myself, right? Right. And so sticking to one topic, reframing, looking at it, redirecting my energies to focus on one thing at a time, and then do that. And then the worthiness came up, right, from that as I was going into that space, right? The awareness of it. And so maybe for you to have something to relate to, expectations, right? And so for me, a lot of people may have expectations of other people, right? That they place on people or on themselves, right? I expect this to be in my life, which I have those expectations of myself. We all do. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to be doing. This is how I want it to be done. But also expectations of others, which we can't have on those because they don't go by our timeline, our rule. They go by theirs, right? And we can't force somebody or something to happen just because we want it to. We can try, we can think about it, but they have free will and their choice, right? And so they can be in resistance to, you know, everything. And maybe they're changing their mind. Maybe they want to change direction, or maybe they want to wait, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's not the right time for them, but it comes back around because that's evolution, right? There's always many multiple opportunities for creating something. And so maybe this is not the time around. Maybe this is not the time in the moment. Maybe next year is. So, but a lot of us will think about it like, okay, I see the signs and maybe I need to do it, which is putting, the cart before the horse, when the horse is what you need to draw the cart, right? So you want to go and follow the steps in manifesting, right? And so just because you see signs doesn't mean you run ahead of it and do it, right? Which is a kind of a struggle for me, because like I see all these signs and things and visions and things like that are popping up, and I want to run and do it, but then I know it's not ready yet. So it gives for me a little bit of resistance in the energy, right? And it's reminding myself to step out of that resistance, because the signs are there just to show you that it's manifesting. This peace, this peace, this peace, this peace, right? And so our expectations can take us out of alignment with creation, of what we want to create, right? And so the manifestations is what's going to happen along the way that we're creating in that expectation, whatever that field of expectation is for you, right? And so whether you're expecting things of other people or whatever that is, it gets in the way, right? So no expectations. We should hold that space, and then just let it be, which is hard because we want it to be. Over here, it's not always instant manifestation. Everything has a manifestation gestation period, which is timeline, because we're here in time, not on the other side where it's instantaneously, right? Because when we're on the other side from my near-death experience, everything is just manifested automatically. It's just there. Like when I was on the other side, and I was, before going into the the life review, they were like, well, have a seat. And then I looked down and there was nothing to sit on. And then a couch appeared, right? So I was like, oh, so it's like instant manifestation on that side in that reality. But here it's not. And so our expectations can delay the process, and we can move into something else that we don't want, which can take us a little bit off the path, but we come back around at some point. There's never not any manifestation of anything that we want. It's just a timeline, how long it takes us to be there when we're ready. And so when we're in resistance to what's happening, then we put a little bit of delay into the mix, which is awareness of itself creating from that point of view. So for instance, Like I want to travel the world, right? So, I mean, right now would be an awesome time to do it, right? I have a car, I can get a tan, I can go travel the world. Okay, so where's the money coming from? Then the worry and stress comes in, right? Where's the money coming from? Where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to eat? It's got to trying to figure out, you're going to put all these things into the mix, right? So, but then there's like, do I really want to sleep in my car? No. Do I want to be in a hotel? No. Do I want a van? Yeah. So what's then? I need to create the van, right? And so am I going to go buy the van already done, or am I going to go buy an empty van and do it myself? And then is it going to build that van, and how am I? And it's all this like almost chaos going on in the mind, and trying to figure and maneuver through that. And so although I can just be like, I'm done with everything here, get in my car and just go, right? Then we have fear on that side, right? The expectations, how's this going to work out? What's this going to do? And all these things come into play in on that, and that's creating situations in of itself. I can still feel my voice in my chest here. Still need to clean that out. But with expectations, for me, what I really want to get to, now, a lot of people have expectations in manifesting, expectations of others. Sometimes it may just be, we're looking up to others and expecting of ourselves to be like that. And so that's one of my expectations in everything that I'm doing, which is actually playing out in resistance to itself, creating it. And so I got to go look at that this morning. And basically, it's like my soul has this expectation of living up to Source's expectation. The Source doesn't have an expectation of you because it's love, which is funny, right? That's funny. I was just laughing at that. I was emotionally crying at the awareness of it because my soul was expressing that and going through the healing process of coming into the awareness of what my expectations are, as far as the soul being my essence, has expectations of living up to Source's expectations, but Source doesn't have any expectations, right? We've been given everything here to create whatever it is that we want, right? But for some reason, that's within me. And whether that was planted somewhere, was like a belief or whatever it was, that part of me, that aspect of me, had that where it was looking up to Source, its expectations, trying to meet its expectations of you. But Source doesn't have expectations. So that was an illusion. Right? And so for even the illusion of myself thinking that, and I know the illusion is like in a delusion, so the experience of them, the illusion becomes the delusion because it's the experience, right? So you're in the illusion, the delusion is the experience of the illusion, if that makes sense. So then the delusion becomes the experience that we experience in life. And why am I not doing this? Why am I not creating this? This is what I want and it's not happening. Where am I going? What am I doing? And so it's the expression of that illusion into a delusion, which is the experience that we have. And then that's the experience that's being created over and over again. It's like a loop, right? And so I want to say that's not really like the expression of the soul. But it was like what part of me, what was in me, and whether that came from like a past life, a teaching religion, or where that was, that you have to live up to Source's expectations, right? And which wasn't a match to Source, because Source has no expectations of us. It's the realization of ourselves that has the expectation of ourselves, who we truly are, which is love. And so that's all that there is. That is, if there was ever an expectation, of Source, which is, this is all built on, which is love, is for you to become love at some point, right? In your life, in your journey, and who you truly are, the expression of yourself. At some point, that is the only expression or expectation that Source would have, because that's the purpose of the creation, right? And so for us to be of the absence of love, to see of love, to be of love in the experience, which is the illusion and delusion, to know what love isn't, so we can learn what it is to be of it, right? And so we can choose in the right way, in the right direction of being love, right? And so that's the only expression of expectation that Source has for any and all of us, is to be love at some point in our evolution. which is the coming back to source, right? The oneness. And that's all that there ever is the one expectation, because there is only one of everything, right? And everything else is an illusion or delusion, which is then the experience of it that we're creating. And so the awareness of that expressed for me today um, was interesting. A lot of deep healing on that. And I've had past lives as monks, nuns, um, a lot of things that would resonate with that belief system. And so that was something that was kind of stuck in there and needed to come out. So to move forward and to not hold that expectation of source living up to source, and that expectation of what source has for me, because there is none. There's no judgment, there's no blame, there's no punishment from that side. It's just from this side, which we play out. And so we all hold it. Even those who are on the journey of awakening and channeling information, and, they're on the journey and doing the work, right? So you have those who aren't yet, but then you have those who are, and then you have those who are helping from the other side who are already, So we have different levels of awareness and consciousness along the streams of consciousness and awareness back to source. This little bug flying around my face here. But yeah, that was a really interesting thing that came up today. Just wanted to share that for the blog, and for you, if you're having any, expectations of yourself or outside of yourself and not sure why it's not manifesting or what's going on, it could be a deep-seated root of belief that was implanted at some point in one lifetime or another, whether it was something that you accepted within yourself, or because you believed in a religion or a belief system, or your parents taught you this, which kind of been like an agreement, that you're taught as a child, and we accept it because we look up to them, right? And so they know because they're the parent, right? Which actually a lot of them aren't. And I'm sorry to say that, if you don't, I know you probably don't agree with me, but parents, they think they know everything, but they don't, right? They're only at their place in their space of their awareness at the time, so they know what they know, but they don't know everything, right? And that's enough to teach you what you need to know, right? So that's why we have the parents that we have. And so from that point of view, we gain the awareness that they have, but from that is where we, is a jumping off point for us to have our own experience, moving from that point of view. And then so that experience, you'll have that in your own awareness of what that is. But the experience of having expectations, there is none. It's us that puts it on ourselves, whether that is something outside of us that is expressed in itself. We're creating that so we can see it internally. And so that was part of my awareness that was creating that. The expression of that belief system or that system that was going on that I accepted into my body. And that's the other thing that they want me to share with you on that. So like when we accept things outside of ourselves, right? For instance, what the topic that I'm talking about could be anything, right? Our body is pure. We come with a body that's pure, right? It's a system that's pure. Everything is working. Everything is the way it's supposed to be. As it was created, it was meant to be. Even if your body, you only have one arm, you only have one foot, you only have whatever it is, it's the way it's meant to be. Intelligence, you are perfect in your divine intelligence, right? And when we accept things into ourselves, like a belief system or something that's not true, it's almost like a virus going into a computer system, right, in a database. And that's what they want me to share with you, to kind of look at that as our belief systems, what we're putting into the system that doesn't resonate, and we accept it, as part of our awareness, right? So because then it becomes like a virus within our body, and it can manifest in different ways: illnesses, belief systems, things that are in resistance to love, and kind of takes us and makes us separate, right, from it. So that's a lot of that can happen. And so without really understanding that, like whenever we accept something that isn't in alignment with love, it's going to be like a virus, right? And so it's going to be either rejected or accepted. And so we're the ones that will either accept it or reject it, right? So whenever it's kind of like the information being put into a computer, like if you're trying to download a program, right? And so it's either going to feel right or it's not. And if it doesn't feel right, it's not based on where you are, which is the measure of where you are from it. You're going to either accept it or not. And it depends on where you are. So if I was in a past life as a nun, these are teaching, I was in alignment with it, right? I was a nun. So of course I was in alignment with where I was based on the journey with that information. So I accepted it, right? And so that was my own fault, because that's where I was in my lifetime, in a past lifetime, that I was where I was because I needed that experience. But now it doesn't resonate, and so for me to be where I am doing what I'm doing now, it needs to come out, right? So in resistance to itself is the bringing that out of it so you can see it, what you accepted in the first place to create the delusion of the experience that you had in its manifestations, right? Which is awareness to it. Then you can see it, which, okay, is this love or is this not in alignment with love? And so now where I am based on what I was before in this lifetime, it no longer is good for me, right? Let's just say it that way. It's no longer needed to believe that I need to live up to source's expectations of me, because there is no expectation of source, right? That was only the knowledge and awareness that I had at that point, because I was under the illusion of religion. Now I'm not, right? Because I've done that, and now I'm on this side of the stream of the conscious. And so it no longer resonates with me. And so whatever doesn't resonate is now booted out of the computer system, right? So you can be where you are in the moment, which is a lot of the releasing of a lot of the traumas and the experience that we've had that no longer resonates with us from where we were in that moment of the past, whether that is your past lives, could be this life, could be what your parents experienced, because remember, you took up the body of the parents on both streams, so you have your whole lineages, right, of what you've accepted and by taking up the body. So you have that as well. And if there's something in resistance to where you are now, as invading your computer system, your DNA, your actualization of where you are in this moment, it's going to interfere with you where you are now, right? In your creations, what you're trying to work on, what you're manifesting. Because if it's not in alignment, it needs to be out, right? And so that what comes up from time to time, as we're especially now, and even on the macro level, like we're evolving into higher consciousness, and so all those things that aren't a match to it in its own awareness needs to come out, and that's why we're seeing all the things that we're seeing right now, and that's why it's bringing that up, right? It's not so we can rehash it out again, it's so it can be seen and known and changed, because you can only change energy and vibration, right? But that's true awareness of it. And so how do you become aware of it? You see it, because it has to be present in your life to become aware of it. Otherwise it's just under the carpet, right? And so it's experiencing all this stuff that's coming up now is part of that. And so as we are evolving through it, so are we on micro levels. And so even in your personal lives, you're going to have that, because we're evolving into a higher consciousness. Things that no longer serve you or where we are, what's needed on the timeline is going to be left. So it's shifting our consciousness, right, into a higher space of awareness, right? And so it needs to go. So that belief had to go. And so that came up for me today, and just wanted to share that. And that was one of my expectations from a past belief system at some point down the line. Now, whether it was mine, my soul at the time, the essence, my awareness, my parents, what they accepted and I took up in the body, but it was in there and it needed to come out, right? So it was the resistance. And I had done a video towards the beginning of the year, right? And in that channeling, it said there's going to be a lot of things that are going to bring us to our authentic self, right? As we shift into a higher consciousness. So looking more at who we truly are in our awareness, which is in line with source, the one true source and love, right? And the truth. So anything else in that resistance is going to be going out, which is actually happening because this, since I would say the last, I constantly go through these instantaneous healings, from time to time, but this year is pretty intense so far. Um, and I would say the last month, it's really been, bringing stuff up for me anyway. And you may be seeing it in your life and seeing, okay, what is no more in alignment with me? What is more of my authentic self? What is my true self? And that may even mean, different jobs, different relationships, different friends, because where we are is where we are, and we are tracked where we are at that moment. And so if you're moving into a different consciousness, it's no longer in alignment. And so you may see these starting to fall away, right? That's part of the path. Things that no longer serve you as you evolve fall away, right? And so then you see the truth within it, right? It gives you that space and the opportunity to see the truth and where you are and why. But a lot of people will hang on to those old stuff that no longer serve you, right? And that keeps you stuck from moving forward. And then you create that resistance and suffering within yourself, which brings you out of balance with love in the divine direction of higher consciousness, right? And so just bring yourself back into presence whenever you're feeling that and things are falling away, and don't let it shift you back into the old consciousness awareness, because it'll drag you back in, and then you'll just be in resistance to yourself of moving forward. It's not about that. So when you hang on to old friends or old people or old things, it's going to keep you kind of like enslaved until you're ready to move forward, right? And so that's your resistance. You're creating that yourself, right? Instead of letting it go and move on, and things will come up which will make you let go. So you may have an argument or get into a fight or hurt somebody or they hurt you, right? And that's because we're not willingly to let go. So when we don't, I know I'm kind of going on and on and on, but when we're not willing to let go freely, which is our free choice and free will, and it needs to leave so you can move forward with source and evolution in your highest and best good, then it'll bring about something that will make you let go. So food for thought, and then, just contemplate all that. I know it was a lot kind of starting out with expectations, but they took me in a whole loop. But that is what was needed to be said here in the video. So I'm just going to share that. I just want to check to see if they have anything else to share. Awareness of yourself, just be present in the moment, right? And sharing your life with others where you are, and then just be happy, right? That's all you can do is gear yourself, be present, be in a state of love whenever and wherever you can with whoever you are. And if you can't be loved, just be kind, right? It's the next best thing. All right, that's pretty much it. Don't have any expectations, because there are no expectations of you by source, and that's the only thing that matters. Anything else that's an expectation by another person on you, or you of yourself, reflecting it outside of yourself to yourself, or that you think you have, isn't, right? So the only expectation that you have is to be of love at some point in your evolution. Happy journeys.